Our boy Matsu is a back-to-back winner of the Japan Cycling Championship. However, now he spends his days doing bike deliveries to pay the bills. As he was doing a normal delivery, he found himself being accused of a murder incident. Left with no better option, he has to now escape from the cops while following instructions from the real culprit. Will he be able to evade cops for 100 days or get caught? The scene opens with a group of cyclers racing at full speed. Our boy Matsu picks up the speed and takes the lead. The commentator says that his speed is unrivaled. Soon enough, Matsu wins the race, and he does a victory pose. The crowd cheered in excitement for his win, and Matsu thought that he was special. The scene shifts to 5 years later in Tokyo. A girl orders some food from the app. She was amazed to see that the delivery guy was coming here quite fast. Some guys talk about how their new BMW feels. They feel top of the world at this speed. Suddenly, Matsu passes by them on his cycle in speed. The car driver becomes stunned upon seeing how he's driving over 50 kilometers per hour. Well, that's our boy, Matsu, who's currently 26 years old and a food delivery worker. Matsu notices that there's a shortcut and thinks about taking it. He jumps his cycle over the bridge, and the car driver from before wonders if he's crazy. However, our boy just keeps cycling forward while humming the word shortcut. He soon delivers the order and thanks them for placing it. The girl says that he rode quite fast and asks if he rides competitively. Matsu replies that he's just a food delivery guy and also happens to be the fastest gig-working cyclist. After saying that, he rushes on his cycle. The girl once again becomes amazed at his speed. Later, Matsu checks his month's earnings and sees that he has made about $1,600. He thinks that he has reached his goals with this and can easily cover his rent and food. He notices some girl pointing to someone, saying that he looks hot. The TV shows the members of Road 13, the Japanese cycling team. Matsu's interest peaks as he sees the talk about cycling. The host says that Tatsuma, also known as the Prince of Cycling, is a word cyclist with a handsome face. She then introduces the founder of the Road 13 group, Tenryu. She asks why he decided to start a sports team. Tenryu replies that he wants to support young folks in achieving their dreams. The host says that Japan hasn't found much success in the big events. She asks how he's planning to change that. Tenryu replies that Road 13 is his project of ambition. He wants to see if Japan's cycling team can overcome the wall of competing on a global stage. He announces that Road 13 will win the Tour de France within 3 years. Matsu hears eagerly as the host says that Road 13 is quite confident. Matsu remembers his past days of cycling when he was called the King of Cycling. Plus, he defeated their current so-called Prince of Cycling, Kira. People said that nobody was a match for Matsu in Japan. After the race, his girlfriend ran towards him, congratulating him on the win. Matsu thanks her, and she says that he'll now be able to compete overseas. Matsu says that it was his dream since childhood, and now he'll win the tour and become the best. The crowd cheers for him, saying that he'll definitely win. At present, Matsu is daydreaming about all of this. His friend calls out to him and tells him to pay attention. Matsu's friend Kuro asks if something is bothering him. He guesses that it must be related to that Road 13 team. Matsu replies that he isn't worried. He further adds that those guys can't win the tour even in their dreams. Kuro replies that he always hated to lose and used to beat that Kira guy in the college. However, he's now getting all the attention as some national star. Matsu says that he's gotten smarter and tells Kuro to get to the point. Kuro says that he has never lost a race back in college. He was undoubtedly the best road cyclist in Japan. However, they found out that his drink was spiked with a prohibited substance, and he was put under suspicion. If that incident didn't happen, he could be standing where Kira is. Matsu remembers the moment when he begged the director that he wasn't the one behind it. The director replies that the mere words of an athlete can't overturn his decision. Kuro says that after that incident, he was banned from competing in any kind of cycling competition. Also, he lost all the sponsorships he had. Matsu interrupts him and says that's enough. He says it's all over now. It wasn't like he could have done anything about it back then. One needs both skill and luck to succeed. And he just happened to be unlucky. He wasn't as special as he thought to be. Kuro becomes a bit nervous on hearing his friend having a breakdown. He says that he still hasn't given up his fate. He can tell it from his tan lines. He still rides his bike every day and dreams about winning the tour. Matsu replies that he's just overthinking. He just uses that bike for delivery work. He needs to pull his own weight now as he has grown up. Matsu further talks about how he's over that incident now. He needs to think about marriage and other stuff, and stop pursuing a dead dream. Kuro replies that he's glad that it was his misunderstanding. The scene shifts to Tenryu laughing manically. He tells his assistant to bring him the booze. The assistant replies that he's in quite a good mood today. Tenryu replies that it's obvious why he's in a good mood. He says that inspiring dreams rakes in cash. He tells his pedal boys to listen up. He doesn't have much expectation of them beating foreigners at race, so they should try hard when on camera. A pedal boy agrees to Tenryu's condition. Tenryu holds the wine up and says that he has spent more than enough money on them. He calls them his little money trees and tells them to grow those profits. The boys reply that they will definitely do it. However, Kira, the ace cyclist of Road 13, feels different about it. Later, Matsu returns to his home and sees his GF sleeping. His girlfriend, Shida, who's a nurse, says that her sleeping schedule is messed up because of the night shifts. Matsu sits down next to her and tries to talk about something. Shida asks if there's something wrong. Matsu replies that everything is fine, but he keeps thinking about the doping incident. She sees him crying and calls out to him. Matsu turns to the other side and wonders what's wrong with him. He chuckles and says it's amusing that he's crying. Shida remembers the moment when he was banned from competing overseas. He was so sad that he cried all day. At present, Shida comforts him and says that everything is all right. The next day, our boy is back to doing deliveries. He thinks that he was quite a mess yesterday. He burst out crying, thinking about the stuff from earlier. He wonders if he should take a break from riding today. He soon reaches his delivery location and sees a massive building. He wonders how many deliveries it'll take to get there. He believes a good cyclist with a good sponsor can afford it. He steps inside the elevator to deliver the order. He remembers Tenryu saying that Road 13 will win the Tour de France and thinks that this is bad. He hasn't been able to take his mind off cycling since yesterday. Winning Tour is a dead dream, but he's still hung up on that. He soon reaches the room number and presses the bell. The person tells him to open the door and leave the order inside. Matsu does as he's told and enters the room. He apologizes for the intrusion and thinks that it's quite dark here. However, he's unaware of the fact that a bunny is hiding beside the door. The bunny grabs him from behind and places a cloth on his face. Matsu tries getting off, but he soon falls unconscious. The scene then shifts to the police station. Kuro says that he's heading out for questioning. He thinks that the hiring season for new recruits is coming up and sees the number of applicants. He wonders if Matsu would be interested in joining as police since he has a strong moral compass. He texts him, asking if he's interested in being a cop. Matsu soon wakes up and wonders where he is. He thinks that he came here for delivery but can't remember what happened after that. He checks for his phone but can't find it anywhere. He steps outside the room and sees a person sitting on the couch. He goes near him and asks if he brought him here. However, the man doesn't respond, and Matsu wonders what's wrong. He sees that the man has been stabbed in the heart, and he freaks out upon seeing it. He wonders if he's dead and what is going on here. He guesses the person to be Tenryu, who's leading the Road 13 team. Matsu thinks that he needs to calm down and look for his phone. Suddenly, a phone rings on the table, and Matsu thinks that it's not his phone. He sees the text, "Pick up," Matsumoto written on it. He wonders who's calling for him. He picks up the phone and says hello. The caller says that it's nice to meet him. He introduces himself as a bunny, the true culprit of Tenryu's death. Matsu asks, who is he and what is he trying to say? The bunny says that he must be confused and suggests him to look outside. When Matsu looks outside, he sees cops. The bunny replies that he called the cops for him using his phone. He told them that he killed a customer after getting into a heated argument. Matsu replies that he would never do something like that. The bunny replies that he knows it very well. However, things won't look good for him if he gets caught. He advises Matsu to get out of there. The cops are in the elevator and they will think that he's the culprit who killed Mr. Tenryu. Left with no better option, Matsu picks up his bag. He runs to the emergency stairs as the bunny tells him. The cops soon show up at the scene and are shocked to see Sir Tenryu being killed. Down below, Matsu hurriedly tries to open his cycle lock. He hears the cop discussing that they are closing the perimeter here. They heard from the officers who went into the building that Tenryu was dead. They got a call from a food delivery worker. He wasn't at the scene, so they will search for him. Matsu tries sneaking out when the officers notice him. They call out to him, asking if they can have a moment with him. They ask if he's the delivery guy they are looking for. Matsu's heart bumps faster, and he thinks that he needs to get out of here immediately. He hops onto his cycle and starts pedaling like crazy. The cops tell him to wait and inform all other units that the suspect is on the run. He identifies the suspect as a young delivery boy riding on a cycle. He's currently riding down to Minato Avenue and they are chasing after him. The police soon catch up to Matsu and tell him to stop. However, Matsu steps up his pedal. He thinks that the police are too fast and starts losing his rationality every moment. As he tries to flee, Matsu's racing instincts kick in and he focuses on getting away from his adversaries. The top speed of a professional cyclist is around 70 kilometers per hour, and Matsu is touching that speed. The police soon catch up to Matsu as a cycle is no match for a car. The cops order him to stop his reckless behavior and slow down immediately. They ask if he can hear them. However, Matsu stays focused. He takes a turn around the corner while almost touching the ground. The cops become surprised at seeing him take a sharp left turn. As Matsu rides forward, another cop vehicle parks itself in front of him. The cop tells him to give up as they have covered this entire area. Matsu thinks that if a collision was to take place then his cycle would be destroyed obviously. He sets his eyes on something else and takes a sharp turn into an alleyway. The cops curse at him as they can't take the turn into the narrow alleyway. Since Matsu has been doing deliveries for 5 years, so he has the whole city network in the back of his head. He relies on his instincts to take the best route possible. Right now for him, getting away means winning. He keeps saying to himself that he'll win no matter what. His obsession kicks in, and he starts racing faster. The cops struggle to corner him and say that he has crazy endurance. They think they would have cornered him in seconds if he hadn't pedaled the cycle at top speed for 30 minutes. They wonder where the backup is. Matsu takes another turn, and another cop vehicle starts chasing him. Matsu thinks that they are quite persistent. He thinks that there's a street with a bunch of branching alleys ahead. He just has to make it to there. The bunny calls him and asks if he needs any help. He says it wouldn't be entertaining if he got caught here, so he'll lend him a hand just this time. He says that he has the power to change the lights of traffic as he pleases. He can use this to his advantage to get away. Matsu thinks that there's no way he could do that. However, Bunny replies that it's up to him whether he believes it or not. Matsu decides to believe him and tells him to change the next light to red. The light turns red and Matsu thinks that it did happen. Bunny asks what he's planning to do now as the light has turned red for him as well. Matsu says that he'll refuse to lose here. He kicks the curb of the road edge and propels himself onto an inclined log. He cycles over the slanted log and the driver wonders what that noise is. Matsu breaks out with a jump, and the people's mouths remain open in awe. Matsu takes a heavy landing and does his best to balance his cycle again. The cops stopped at the traffic signal, say that they lost him. At the police station, Kuro reports back in. He hears quite a crowd talking about the various incidents taking around the city. A girl calls out to Kuro and says that there has been a crazy incident now. Kuro replies that he heard it over the radio and that Tenryu was found dead. She says that the culprit seems to be a delivery guy, and his name is Matsu, and he's 26 years old. On hearing those words, Kuro remains stunned. Matsu, after cycling like crazy for a long duration, heaves heavily. He wonders what he was doing just now. He thinks that it was so reckless for him to do that. However, the emotions he's feeling right now are abnormal. He felt all of that so exciting. The bunny calls him again and says, "That's the real him." He congratulates Matsu on making a splendid escape. He shouldn't expect any less from the former champion. Matsu curses at him, saying it's all his fault. Because of him, cops think of him as a culprit. Bunny replies that he just recommended him to get out of there and it wasn't a command. Bunny further reveals that Tenryu's time of death matches with his. Also, his fingerprints were all over that knife. Anyway, they shouldn't care about the specifics now. He tells Matsu that he has a wonderful offer for him. The offer is if he manages to escape the cops for 100 days, then he'll let him make a comeback as a road cyclist. Matsu wonders what he's talking about. Bunny ignores him and explains the rules. Rule 1 is that he can't use trains, buses, motorcycles, or any other means of transport. Rule 2 is to stay in a single municipality for 3 consecutive days. He shouldn't think about crossing the border of 2 cities to reset the timer. Rule 3 is that this phone must be always turned on and stay in his possession all the time. If he follows all these rules, then he'll turn himself in for Tenryu's murder on the 100th day. Plus, he would get a chance to race as a competitive cyclist and fulfill his dreams. If he gets caught, then he can forget about all of this and spend the rest of his days in prison. Matsu says that this offer is too convenient and asks why should he listen to him. Bunny replies that he isn't forcing him to take this offer. However, he would be known as a killer in that case. He asks if doesn't he want to go back to the thrill of the competition. Doesn't he want to lift that trophy, win the Tour de France, and become the world's greatest cyclist? He has a guaranteed way to reinstate him. This escape journey will bring him back to that stage that he always dreamt about. Whether he believes it or not, it's all up to him. At the same time, the news about Tenryu's death broadcasts all over the TV. The suspect is a 26-year-old delivery worker named Yoshinobu Matsumoto. Matsu is known to have crossed paths with Mr. Tenryu in his early cycling career. The Road 13 team wonders what they should do now as he has killed Tenryu. The whole city soon starts calling out Matsu's name. Shida also looks at the news and remains in utter shock. As for Matsu, he's riding his cycle on the city outskirts. A car passes by him and honks at him. The driver is none other than his friend Kuro. Matsu asks how he's here and Kuro replies that he used to come here often earlier. Matsu tries explaining, but Kuro tells him to stay away. He says that he's a cop and his orders are to arrest him on sight. He tells him to stay right there and tell him everything that happened. Matsu explains everything to him, and Kuro ponders over it deeply in his car. Kuro asks why he ran then. That's the most suspicious thing that he could have done. Matsu replies that he wasn't thinking straight and apologizes once again. Matsu thinks about the deal that he made with the bunny. He wasn't lying about controlling traffic lights earlier, and wonders if his talk about restating him as a cyclist is true. Matsu apologizes in advance as he shouldn't be saying this to a cop. He says he has planned to keep running away. Kuro becomes horrified on hearing this, and asks if he's serious. Matsu says that the culprit told him that he could race competitively again if he doesn't get caught for 100 days. Kuro tells Matsu to calm down and asks why he's believing the words of a killer. Matsu replies that it sounds dumb, but the bunny isn't lying. He seems confident that he can frame him. Matsu says that he'll feel guilt if he turns himself right now. Also, he wants to compete again. Even if it's a 1% chance, he's willing to bet on it. If he doesn't get it, then he'll run away from him as well. Suddenly, Kuro opens the car trunk and reveals a new cycle and some gear. Kuro tells him to switch out his bike with him. He says that he doesn't trust the true culprit, but the police are treating him to be the real culprit. If he gets caught, he would be doomed for sure. He'll look into this matter on his own, but he can't say how long it will take. However, his only choice right now is to take that real culprit's offer. He tells Matsu to run away. The scene shifts to the news reporter standing outside the murder incident. She says that the whole area is surrounded by police and press. The suspect is a delivery guy at the age of 26, named Matsumoto. The scene shifts to Yokohama City. Our boy trims his hair and changes his look to some extent. He then gets back on his cycle and starts riding in the streets. After he parted ways with Kuro, he spent the night camped out in a park. Since then, he has started heading south. Also, he feels the atmosphere to be strange. His name is all over social media, and everyone is talking about him. However, on the streets no one notices him. It's an odd thrill that is keeping him on edge. He also wonders what's up with these absurd rules. Not using motorized vehicles, changing cities every 3 days, and keeping phone turned on at all times. If he can avoid getting caught for 100 days, then the bunny will turn itself in. He doesn't understand what he has to gain from this. However, this is his only hope. He also apologizes to his girlfriend for worrying her. He'll do his best to come back safe and sound. There are 99 days left, and he'll make it through without getting caught. The scene shifts to someone's house. The man's wife asks, what is he doing lying around? He has to take the kids to school. He tells her to shut up for a second. The kids say that he's jobless and a freeloader, so he should stop complaining. He scares the kids away and the wife tells her to stop it. He takes them to the school and tells them to hold on tight. The kids shout that the Dad Express is so fast and Matsu passes by them. The scene shifts to someone banging on a door. The news reporter asks Matsu's girlfriend if they can speak for a moment. However, they don't get a response and wonder if she's out. Suddenly, Kuro shows up inside her house, and she becomes surprised. He then takes her to a restaurant. He explains that the true culprit framed Matsu. There's no need for her to worry, as he'll do his best to arrest that bastard. Shida gloomily agrees to it. Kuro says that he left a message for her. Matsu said that he'd come home safe, so they shouldn't break up. Shida calls him an idiot and starts crying. Later, Kuro returns to the police station. Kuro apologizes for being late, and a girl says that he's super late. She gives him the briefing papers of the surveillance footage. Sano says that she heard that he knew the Matsu guy. He's kind of her type, but more crazy. Kuro replies that he's nothing like that. He also says that all of Tokyo will be under surveillance. He thinks that the information available online is a mess. Nonetheless, he has to arrest the true murderer as soon as possible. He wonders what the killer's motive is. He wants to reinstate Matsu as a cyclist. He believes this must be the work of a thrill-seeker person. He also made a few moves to help Matsu last night, and hopefully, it would give him a lead. Sano says that it's patrolling time, and Kuro says he's coming. Kuro promises Matsu that he'll get him out of this. Until then, he shouldn't get caught. As for Matsu, his stomach grumbles while riding. He thinks that he hasn't eaten anything since yesterday. He looks at a restaurant while passing by. He thinks that he'll have to take his helmet off to go to a store. Plus, there would be cameras too. He sits down and wonders why there are no unmanned food stalls like a vending machine. Only if he had asked Kuro to buy him some food instead of the damn hair clippers, then he wouldn't be starving. Suddenly, a woman approaches him and asks if he's all right. Does he feel sick? Suddenly, Matsu's stomach grumbles, and the woman chuckles on hearing it. She takes his cycle and tells him to follow her. She can give him some bento boxes. Matsu says that she doesn't have to do this. However, the girl introduces herself as Yumi, and says that they will throw the boxes anyway. Matsu introduces himself as Matsuda. He thinks that he almost slipped out his name. He hopes she didn't recognize his name. Luckily, Yumi doesn't recognize him, and she takes Matsu inside. He thanks her for inviting him in. Matsu starts chomping down on the food like a madman. He thanks her for the food and says it's delicious. Yumi replies that he's eating more food than her kids combined. She asks if he has a food delivery bag behind him. Can't he buy food with the money he earns? Matsu nervously tries to explain that he's trying to save money for her girlfriend's birthday. Our boy is an honest man, so he's having a hard time lying here. Yumi says that it's quite nice that he's saving up for her girlfriend. She suddenly starts laughing and Matsu gets taken back. She says that she envies his girlfriend, and Matsu asks what's wrong. She says that her husband refuses to work and drinks all day. She has to pull the house together because of the kids. Seeing him made her remember something. Back then, her husband used to be a famous cyclist. He's the coolest person in the world when he's on his bike. But he went through some rough stuff a few years back. She apologizes for making him listen to her problems. He can think of this as payment for the food. Matsu tries to give advice but doesn't know how helpful it will be. He says he used to ride competitively and had to distance himself from racing, but still kept riding. It was because he didn't want to be a financial burden on his girlfriend. He managed to keep riding because he had a goal in his mind. Her husband needs to find a goal to pursue. If he finds a goal, then he'll get back to his feet. Yumi chuckles and asks if providing for a family is not enough of a goal. She thanks him for the advice nonetheless. She doesn't care if he chases a selfish goal. She just wants to see him giving his all to something. Matsu leaves on his cycle and thanks her for the food. Yumi also tells him to take care. He thinks that she's such a kind person, and he'll come back to thank her after 100 days. At home, Yumi tells her kids to put their dishes in the sink. Her husband drinks beer and rummages for another one in the bag. He asks why there's only one beer in there. She apologizes and says that their shop is red this month and she can't afford more. She suggests him to do delivery work. That way he would be able to afford as many drinks as he would like. He shuts the door and leaves the room. Once inside the room, he mumbles to himself about booze and cash. He sees a cycling magazine and remembers that he gave up on his dream earlier. Suddenly his phone rings, and he sees that there's a message. The message shows that he has been selected as a challenger for Matsu. As for Matsu, he's camping in a park at night. He opens the bag and sees different types of food. He starts devouring it and thanks Yumi for packing all of this. After dinner, he lies on the camp. He thinks that Yumi didn't recognize him, but it felt like she saw right through him. He remembers her asking if providing for the family is not enough of a goal. He wonders what his motivation is to keep riding. Up till now, he would say he wanted to earn. But in reality, He can't deny that he was stuck in the past. The next morning, Matsu packs his things and hops onto his cycle. He thinks that he should head to the countryside where there are fewer people. The problem is how he gets food and water. Suddenly, his phone rings and he checks it out. The phone notifies him that a danger is approaching him quickly. The bunny tells him that he has quite some food problems. So he has got the perfect thing for him. He says that it's time for a game. Matsu asks what type of game, and the bunny says that he'll explain it. The bunny says that he has a bounty of over 1 million yen on his head. An opponent is on his way to collect that bounty, and he has been given temporary access to his location. He has to compete with that opponent. If he wins, then he'll get 7 days' worth of food. If he loses, then the opponent will have permanent access to his location. If that happens, then he'll ultimately get caught. Matsu asks why he's forcing him to do this crazy contest. Bunny ignores his question and says that the rule for him to win is to open a 100-meter gap between him and his opponent. On the other hand, if the opponent touches him, then he'll lose. He says that the opponent is here and asks Matsu if he's ready to race. Matsu sees a man cycling towards him with his phone in hand. Ogata shows him the phone and is happy to see him here. Matsu's heart starts beating fast and Ogata asks what's wrong. If he's that scared, then he'll catch up to him. Suddenly, Matsu starts laughing weirdly. He thinks that he's getting the same feeling as before. He says this was what he had been waiting for. He understands now that he's hung up about the tour. He calls Ogata an old man and says he doesn't stand a chance. However, he can try to catch him if he wants. Matsu thinks that he wants to race against the fastest people all the time. Matsu steps up on the pedal and Ogata thinks this would be fun. The time is currently 5 a.m. and a person is checking his phone. He sees a live stream of a murderer on the run. The drone captures the live footage of them running away. Ogata wonders how many beers he could buy with 1 million yen. He calls the kid his moneymaker and tells him to get over here. The condition for Matsu to win is to put 100 meters of distance between him and his enemy. Matsu says win, win, and win. Whereas Ogata says cash, cash, and booze. The light suddenly turns red and quickly all the lights turn red. Matsu thinks that this is the bunny's doing. They don't have to worry about traffic as it's early morning. However, the bunny has set the perfect stage for the game. Matsu steps up his pedaling and makes a distance of 15 meters. Ogata smirks and steps up his pedaling as well. He closes the distance to 7 meters. Matsu thinks that he's keeping up with his sprint. He believes this guy is not an amateur. He has a similar build to a road sprinter, but he has massive thighs. He believes this guy is a cyclist who races indoors. Bunny suddenly says bingo. He says that an amateur wouldn't stand a chance against him, so he has taken the liberty to choose an opponent for him. His opponent's name is Masataka Ogata. He used to be an indoor cyclist, but he left competitive cycling a year ago. He's just like him, suspended for an assault case. Matsu finds the surname Ogata familiar. He wonders if he's Yumi's husband. However, it doesn't matter who he is. What matters is that he used to cycle indoors. He thinks that he could use this to his advantage. When two cyclists are racing at top speed, breaking a 100-meter distance is a tough task. Plus, any mistake could be fatal for the runner. Matsu feels immense pressure on his shoulders. However, he has a crucial advantage, and that is he can dictate the course. Unlike the traditional race, he can force the pursuer to respond to his decision. Matsu widens the gap by 2 meters more on the turn and thinks this is all he needs. Ogata is an indoor cyclist while Matsu is a road cyclist. Indoor cyclists race around a 2-kilometer distance. Compared to other cycling races, it's a short distance. Ogata has built up his muscles to provide him an explosive burst of power for short distances. On the other hand, road cyclists have to cover more than 100 kilometers in a single race. So, endurance matters for them. Matsu has stamina on his side but lacks the muscles to get power bursts. Matsu plans to maintain his lead while buying some time. He's thinking about taking this for a long game. Ogata smirks and takes something out from his small bag. Suddenly, he throws a rock at Matsu and it hits his bag. He starts tossing multiple rocks at Matsu, trying to knock him off the balance. Matsu becomes surprised by Ogata's shenanigans. He tells him to stop and says it's dangerous. He asks Ogata again if he's deaf or something. Ogata replies that the rule was to capture him on the bike. Besides, he's a murderer, so he shouldn't complain about this now. Matsu thinks that this guy is nuts. Ogata throws more rocks, and it hits Matsu in the head. Matsu feels tense with this experience. He feels that his previous pursuits were tests of his pure speed, where he had to understand his adversary's capabilities. Matsu wonders when Ogata will throw, where his aim at, and if he should dodge it or not. He feels a looming threat of violence, and his pedaling starts slowing down. Ogata smirks on seeing his prey cower in fear. He approaches behind him and says he's now a good boy. He extends his hand and says he got him now. However, Matsu hops onto the wall by kicking his feet. He quickly changes his direction and starts pedaling opposite to Ogata. Matsu's obsession with victory overcomes his fear as he makes his escape. Ogata asks if he's a Spider-Man or something. He also changes his cycle direction and starts chasing after Matsu again. He smirks and thinks that this wouldn't be so easy. He grabs something from his other pocket and thinks about moving to his next plan. The livestream shows Matsu breaking out of Ogata's grasp, and the viewers remain in awe. A guy wonders if this is for real. Another person reports the live stream, while some wonder who is filming this. The viewers see a diversion and wonder which route Matsu will take. It has been 10 minutes into the game, and Matsu decides to head toward the elevated residential area. Matsu looks back to see what he's up to. He sees that Ogata isn't tired yet. Matsu heads toward the ramp and thinks this will drain Ogata's stamina. Ogata takes something out of his pocket and gives an evil smile. He tosses something on the ramp in front, and Matsu wonders what it is. He sees that it's small spikes. He evades it narrowly and thinks that it is a close call. Ogata takes out another thing from his pocket and throws it at Matsu. The pouch hits Matsu's rear cycle, and he suddenly feels something weird with his cycle. He thinks that the rear wheel is heavy and sees that some sort of gel is sticking to it. He feels 3 times heavier than usual. He changes his gear to scrape off the gel with friction. Suddenly, Ogata pulls out a rope from his bag. He throws it and it wraps around Matsu's right arm. Ogata pulls his hand back and Matsu wonders how many tricks this man has. He shakes off the rope and resumes cycling. He wonders if he has a 4-dimensional pocket. Ogata keeps throwing stuff, and this splits Matsu's attention. He has to see his cycle, avoid tacks in front, and look for rocks thrown from behind. Matsu feels the pressure growing, and he wonders what his next move will be. Due to the mental toll on Matsu, he takes a wrong turn and ends up in a dead end. He turns his cycle around and faces Ogata. Matsu thinks that he messed up. His maps don't show elevation. Ogata says that it's over and he should accept his defeat. Ogata taunts him, saying that he looks dissatisfied. He makes one thing clear to him: only winning matters even if they have to resort to dirty tricks. Matsu laughs suddenly and asks if he's playing dirty. He says that cheaters don't think they are doing anything unfair. However, he feels that he's an honest guy by heart. He tells Ogata that he isn't suited for this. Ogata laughs at this and says it's a weird way for him to beg for his life. Matsu tells him that he isn't playing dirty at all. Matsu picks up a rock and says anything goes fine by him. He has been dying to race for the past 5 years. He tosses the rock at Ogata and says he'll play by his rules. Suddenly Matsu jumps off the cliff and Ogata asks what is he doing. Matsu hops down and lands on the roof of a house. The viewers can't believe what they are seeing. Matsu then starts hopping from roof to roof and the drone streams everything. Some people say that he has gone nuts, while some say that he's a ninja in real life. Ogata becomes tensed on his prey escaping. He thinks that he couldn't jump down like him. He thinks that he's playing it dirty. Ogata calls Matsu a cheater and tells him to get back here. Some viewers wonder where the cops are at, and some say this man is a killer for a reason. Suddenly the stream cuts and the viewers get annoyed. The bunny asks if they want to help catch Matsu, then they should click on the link for more details. As for Ogata, he's coming back down the hill. He checks his mobile and sees the distance between him and the runner is 47 meters. The distance then increases to 59, and then to 68 meters. Ogata smirks and thinks that he has lost now. He couldn't stop him even after throwing all of those things at him. He hadn't had this feeling since his racing days. 1 year ago, he used to race indoors and came first in most of the matches. The host says that this is his 3rd consecutive win. He came back home that night and his wife asked what took him so long. He replies he went for a 100-kilometer ride. She asks if he went for endurance training again. She asks how that helps him with his indoor cycling. Ogata tells her that the track condition, nervousness, and other factors could sap his energy and impact his performance. He says that the one who is prepared the most always takes the race. Now that he thinks about it, He has another reason why he can't lose. His wife smiles on hearing the response. A few days later, Ogata commits a foul and another cyclist obstructs his path. His winning streak ends, and his friends ask if he's all right. He replies that winning and losing happens in sports, so they shouldn't worry much about him. Ogata feels worried about Yamashita, so he decides to check on him. He sees Yama taking money from someone, and the person says that it's a pleasure doing business with him. Ogata asks Yama what that was. Yama tells him that it's none of his business, and Ogata tells him to wait. He asks if he blocked him on purpose in the race. He says that match fixing is the worst thing one can do in an indoor race. Yama shoves him back and says racing fair and square is for the naive. He's doing whatever it takes to get what he wants. He could join him if he needs money for his wife's pregnancy. Ogata gets furious and beats the crap out of Yama. As a result, he got a 1-year suspension. His friend discussed that Yama obstructed him because he was jealous of Ogata. Since there was no evidence of match fixing by Yama, so Ogata was suspended eventually. He remembers Yama's word that only winning matters by any means possible. He thought this was true as he came prepared with enough tricks. However, in the end, he was just an incompetent loser. The phone beeps again, and it says that the distance between them is 93 meters. He becomes surprised when the distance starts dropping. He sees that Matsu has stopped suddenly. He wonders what could be the reason and eventually reaches Matsu. Matsu says that he has been waiting quite a while for him. He wanted to ask something as he heard him shout earlier. Matsu annoyingly asks who was he calling a cheater back then. Ogata remembers that he did call him a cheater when he jumped down from the cliff. He becomes surprised about why he's bringing up that now. Matsu bashes at him, saying he has never resorted to cheating in his career. He has his reason and can't stand being called a cheater. Ogata wonders why is he going on with this yapping. He asks Matsu if he waited here just to tell him this, and Matsu agrees. Matsu also adds that he's confident that he can take him on no matter what the distance is. He suggests racing one more time if he's down for it. This time, they'll race fair and square like an event. There'll be no complaint about who wins. He asks if he agrees to it. Ogata wonders what this murderer is rambling about. However, his doubts were erased when he saw the pure look in Matsu's eyes. It's the same feeling that he had when he used to race competitively. Ogata drops rocks, knives, knuckles, and lots of other things from his bag. Matsu remains shocked to see him bring so much stuff. Ogata asks what the rules will be then. Matsu says that they will ride 10 kilometers down the road. At the end of the road is an unused tunnel. He'll win if he opens a 100-meter lead before they get there. Otherwise, Ogata, you will be the winner. It will be similar to the sprints they see at the tour. It'll be a test of pure speed. Ogata asks if he's giving him an edge by fixing the course and distance. He doesn't mind much about it. He tells him not to start crying once he breaks away from him. Ogata thinks that Matsu is a cycling freak just like him who's addicted to the thrill of the race. Matsu tells Bunny to count down to 5, and Bunny says that he's messing with his game. However, this is what he likes about him. He's sure that Ogata feels the same as well. After all, he's the protagonist with the potential to become a hero. He tells Matsu that he expects great things from him and starts the countdown. Once the countdown hits 0, both of them start pedaling. The scene shifts to Ogata's house. The kids ask if Dad has left the home, and if he has divorced her. Their mother replies that's not the case, and says she's going to search for him. She dials the number but he doesn't pick it up. She wonders where that idiot went. As for Ogata, he's cycling like a madman. Both cyclists are doing their best to win the game. Matsu breaks out, and Ogata wonders how he's so fast when they just started. He thinks he can't lose here. It has been 30 minutes since he has been cycling from the start. He thinks that Matsu doesn't know that he has been training his endurance well in his career days. However, since his career days were over for more than a year, Ogata has been struggling on the stamina. Matsu remembers his past when he used to deliver food to customers on his cycle. Ogata also remembers that he used to drink and lay around in the home. The stream soon comes back and the viewers wonder what happened, and if he's still chasing Matsu. Matsu remembers showing his girlfriend how he used to sprint. She replies that he gets bored of other sports, but never with cycling. She asks if he likes cycling that much. Matsu blushes and replies he does. When he's on his bike, he feels alive. Matsu increases his speed and the viewers call him a demon. The distance starts increasing rapidly and it reaches 49 meters. The viewers say that his opponent stood no chance from the start. Matsu soon crosses the 100-meter gap and wins the race. The viewers say that this guy is crazy and opened the gap in an instant. Some say that it was fun to watch, while some want more of this. Ogata smiles and accepts his defeat like a champ. Suddenly, a notification pops up, and the viewers wonder what it is. The link takes the viewers to the page of Matsu Bounty crowdfunding. The website aims to aid Matsu's capture and will be used to fund Matsu's bounty. The goal is to collect $15,000, and they need $2,500 more. A viewer wonders if this game is similar to the game of tag they just streamed. Bunny also tells them that those who donate will gain access to future live streams. A viewer thinks that he'll be able to watch more of this if he donates. He sees various money options to donate and decides to donate $5. Other people also donate various amounts of money, saying that the stream was thrilling. Several donations start rolling in crazy, and Bunny feels happy seeing all of this behind his screen. He thinks there were some hiccups, but it was a good test run. He hopes Matsu will keep them entertained like this. Within a few minutes, the bunny achieves his goal of fundraising and thinks this will be the beginning.